Okay, for those of you that don't know, I am the author of the books Farming Without the Bank and Life Without the Bank. And I teach the infinite banking concept, which was written by R. Nelson Nash, and that is the book Becoming Your Own Banker. So that is what we're doing, is teaching the infinite banking concept to people who are tired of the banking system. Okay, let's go over this week's meetings. Good morning, Jim. The first meeting this week, this was a guy trying to get ahead of it all, and I love it. He had very little debt. And oh my gosh, okay. So before I get started, if y'all see me going crazy here, we have like fruit flies in our house, and I don't know where they're coming from. And I have done every trick known, and hopefully that takes care of them. But if you see me like looking at flies, I've not lost my mind. Okay, so this guy has very little debt. He only had like 4 things of debt. He had 2 pieces of, he had a cattle note, he had equipment, and then he had a couple of vehicle loans. Good morning, Michael. Good morning, Tom. And so those, he is just tired of it all. He wants to get rid of this debt, and he has been holding over calves to build his herd. Well, of course, if we're holding over calves, what does that do? That makes our operating note suffer, because we have to make our cattle notes or they're going to take our cows. And so last year he claimed income, but he was about $10,000 short of paying off his operating. So he's very frustrated because he's in this cycle. And I see this all the time, which I've said it before and I will say it again. I do not like cattle notes. And so what's happening to him is he can't build, because if he builds, then he's short on the other end. If he sells everything, he can't build. So it's kind of a catch-22. What do we do? And so he said, well, I'm just thinking about selling all the calves. Not his cows, just his calves. Selling all the calves. And if I sell all the calves, then I can pay off that cattle note and I can pay off both vehicles. But then I'm not building my herd. And I said to him, well, what if? And that's going to free up like $40,000 a year. So what if we can sell all the calves and then we can have some custom grazing, which he's already doing a little bit of. So why not bring some extra custom in, pocket that money, because now we're going to have income, right? Is it going to be 40,000? I don't know what he's going to get based on how many he could bring in. So now we have this income, but we don't have $40,000 going out. Anything that comes in is ours to stay. And so if we sell all the cows or all the calves, do we use all of that money to pay off the debt? Obviously we have to pay the cattle note, but do we pay the vehicles off? So do we use all of that money to pay off all of the debt? Or do we pay some of the debt off, leave some money liquid, so then we have the ability to use it for fencing, use it for another piece of equipment, use it to put into a life insurance policy, right? So then that could get him started. I don't know. And the reason that we don't know that yet is because he has Milo to sell. And he doesn't know how much that's going to bring, right? Prices are up and down. If he would have contracted it, and that's the other thing, he's not contracting any of his grain. Well, if we're not contracting it and we're playing the market, over the average, are we winning? Or should we be marketing it so that we know exactly what our Milo is going to bring? We know what we're going to sell it for. We know we made a profit. And we're not waiting until the last minute to hope we didn't go backwards. Because he can't contract, well, I suppose he could contract his calves, but depending if he's got somebody to contract him with, right? So, because I do have a rancher that contracts his calves. He knows every single year exactly what he's going to get per head. He knows he's going to make money. It's a great strategy for him. So, we have to wait until like October, November, see what's going to happen with the Milo, see what he gets for the calves, and then we can come back and regroup and say, do we pay it all off? What are we going to need? Because if we pay it all off today, he's not going to have liquid money again for a year. The other thing is if we put it into a policy, which some of it will go into a policy, there's no question. So let's say that we put $20,000 into a policy. He only maybe has to pay $10,000 now, and then he has the entire year to fill up the extra $10,000 because the premium is flexible. Not every company offers that. This is one of the big reasons I work with the companies I do, is because of the flexibility in payments. Super important to farmers, ranchers, and business owners, right? So he'll be able to start after he sells calves, but then or he sells Milo, but then we can fill it throughout the year. So if we start his policy in December, January, he hits 2 years. Especially, if we start in December, he'll hit December of this year, and he could fill up to December of next year. He could put that premium in. So he could essentially get 2 harvest seasons every single year, which is fantastic. Okay. But lots of strategizing, and that's the kind of stuff that I absolutely love to do. Those are the things of, why do you want Mary Jo to help you versus, oh, hey, I'm going to go get this policy. I had 2 people this week send me illustrations from other people, other agents that they went to. Well, this doesn't look like an infinite banking policy. Then why did you not go to an infinite banking practitioner? Why did you go to your local guy hoping that you would get the right thing? My friends, that crap isn't going to happen. You're not going to get the right thing if you don't go to somebody that understands what's going on, much less somebody that understands what's happening in the farming industry. How are they going to run those strategies, okay? I had another gentleman this week, and this is another example of crappy agents, okay? This guy went to another person that is not an infinite banking practitioner, but he is selling the private banking, that's the label he's using, the private banking concept. What a bunch of crap. I have never seen a policy this bad ever. And he is 67 years old, and he is a physician, okay? 67, and he's like, geez, I need to retire at some point, and I've always been a private MD. I have not worked in a hospital setting. I don't have a pension. And so he's going to have Social Security, and he's got some money in annuities, which he thinks are terrible. Not every annuity is terrible. And a lot of people will add annuities to their whole retirement portfolio. I am not a lover of annuities. And the reason why, I shouldn't say that. I have a love-hate relationship with annuities. I have sold 3 of them in 11 years. And the reason why I don't sell them is because all the money that you get when you retire, you can annuitize that annuity. That means that if I am 70 years old and I want to annuitize it, they decide how much they're going to give me every year based on how much money I have in there and how long I should live. Okay? That all comes to me as taxable income. He was told that's going to come to him income tax free. Now, I don't know what's in these annuities. If he's got some sort of Roth or something in there, I have no idea. And so, if it's something I've never seen before, but annuities will come to you taxable. Now, I am not the annuity expert. On the opposite side of that, an annuity gives you guaranteed income till the day you die. So if he says, you know what, I'm going to annuitize at 70, and they say, well, you're going to die at 85, you're going to get X amount of money, but he lives to 95, they still pay him till he dies, the exact same amount of money. Now, if you annuitize it and you die in 3 months, money is typically gone. And I say typically because not all annuities work that way either. Some of them will have a 10-year guarantee payout or whatever it is. And so they're all very, very different. But he wants to just ditch those annuities and take all that money and put it into life insurance. Well, I don't know that that's a good idea. He needs to have some sort of guaranteed income, right? Like we can't just go, oh, life insurance is the answer to all of it. He needs to have some sort of guaranteed income. So I need to see the annuities. He did not really have his numbers for his business because somebody else is always taking care of that. Now at 67, he's trying to catch up and he's a little bit concerned, like, geez, maybe I can't go till I'm 80. And how do I create income without having to physically be in my office every day? He is taking those steps and learning all these new things, which is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. He learned how to use Zoom the other day. But here's the thing with what he was sold. So he goes to this other guy that's private banking, doesn't know crap, clearly, tries to sell him a 10-pay policy. He sends it to me. It is what? A universal life, of course. Run at 7.62 gross rate of return. 7.62. I can pull up my market calculators, and the average of the market in the last 20 years has been 4 to 4.5% without the S&P with dividends. Okay? If you just look at the Dow and the S&P, it's been 4. And he is running this thing at 7.62%. 30% of his premium from day one goes to fees and charges. 30%. He was putting $192,000 a year of premium into this policy for this guy so that he could retire. I said, well, how much are your annuities going to pay you? How much is your Social Security going to pay you? Well, he didn't know. I said, we have to back into this. We can't start and say, oh, this is how much you're going to need. I need to know what you've already done, and then we need to back into it to see what you need to put in. But it's not going to be in a universal life policy. And he doesn't care that he's going to lose the death benefit. He has no children, no spouses, right? He has siblings and parents. So he doesn't care about the death benefit. But he's not going to have the cash value to retire on. So you tell him that he can retire in 10 years and then in 5 years he gets to go back to work? What? Doesn't make any sense. Horrible. Like, horrible. I actually sent that illustration to a colleague and he was like, what? That bad. I'm not alone. I'm not the only crazy one here. Good morning, Miss Winnie. Dave, it's very hard for me to contract grain that I haven't harvested. I don't know what that means, Dave, because people contract grain all the time. I'm not sure what you mean. Okay. The next one, seriously messy family issues. And this is funny because he says to me, well, yeah, we kind of have a lot going on. It's kind of a long story. And people say this to me all the time. And they don't really want to share the family drama with me. And I don't necessarily want to hear it because I'm not a lover of drama. But I need to know it. Because I kind of need to know, who do we need to insure? What are the family dynamics? All that good stuff. And I said, well, I'm going to find out. Like, eventually I'm going to ask enough questions to find out. Because I need to know what, I kind of need to know what's going on. That's why you're here. So, Grandpa, let me think. Grandpa Never so it's dad and 3 siblings. One of the other siblings, not his dad, one of the other siblings was farming with Grandpa. Grandpa wasn't paying him. Grandpa didn't feel like they needed to be paid. So you should just work for free. It's a farm, right? Because obviously that's what Grandpa did. And that's what great Grandpa did. And so he said, I'm out of here. I'm not working for free. And the farm financially wasn't doing very well because Grandpa's not running his numbers. So Dad gets the farm. Dad expects the kid to work for free. The kid is 30 years old. Dad expects him to work for free. The kid's like, this ain't working. I am not working for free. I have expenses. I've got all this time into it. No, if you needed a hired man, you'd have to pay him. So you're going to have to pay me a little something. Dad, not managing the farm financially, right? It's going to end up being lost. So Grandpa, it sounds like Grandpa's still alive. So what happens when Grandpa passes away? The land gets split, goes into a trust or gets split, whatever. So now we're going to lose land because we haven't estate planned correctly, and we have a 30-year-old that wants to farm. And so it was a little bit messy. Dad is not insurable, even though the crazy thing is Dad doesn't want to change the way he farms. He doesn't listen to anything, the way it sounds. And so the kid is very, like, a lot of times I can tell, like, is it the kid issue? Because I'm only getting half the story. So I'm never going to beat up on one or the other, because there is always 2 sides to every single one of my stories. But I can tell typically if I have somebody in a meeting that's pretty arrogant and he's like, oh yeah, blah, 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 right? The attitude could be half the problem. But in this case, the kid's with me anyway, he was very quiet, very careful on how he said things and how he approached things, and knew that, he's only 30, he needs some time, but things financially have to be figured out now. So if he's going to take over, or if he's going to do this just part-time, that he can do that. And what is that going to look like? And so it was the one thing, though, that Dad did agree with is because somebody in the 80s told him the only way to farm is with life insurance. So they have life insurance on the kid. Mom and Dad have life insurance on the kid. That is part of his compensation, is that he's going to get some of that. He's going to get that policy, or however that works. But so we can insure Dad, though, because Dad is not insurable. He has a lot of health issues. It sounds to me like the whole family has a lot of health issues, which means we need to get the kid covered so he doesn't become uninsurable as well. Because we have Crohn's and colitis and heart disease and like some serious things that are hereditary. But so we're going to have to get insurance on Mom if we can. If we can. It's going to be fairly expensive. But we're going to have to buy out aunts and uncles. Hopefully the aunts and uncles will sell it to him directly if that's the case. Now, the downside is he lives in a state where the cost per acre is absolutely insane. And farming won't pay for that. And so here's the risk there, is if the family doesn't sell it to the nephew, then you have Bill Gates in China and investors coming in and buying that up. And it's not just Bill Gates in China that are buying land. If you guys listen to Robert Kiyosaki's podcast, and I listen to Robert Kiyosaki a lot, within the last month probably, or 2 months, he has mentioned farm ground as an investment twice. Robert Kiyosaki doesn't have anything to do with farming. He is an investor. He invests in real estate. Farm ground is prime real estate for any investor's portfolio. I don't care where they're from, because it is appreciating. And it's appreciating because they're investing in it, right? And then they just rent it back. And so if we want to keep these family farms, it's not because the younger generation's not wanting to farm. It all lies on us because we're not doing the correct estate planning. If we did the correct estate planning, we wouldn't see for sale signs along the road. People, think about what we're doing to our own industry. I talk to at least, 12 farmers a week, probably. More, some weeks. And we're not estate planning correctly. We're not estate planning, period. And then we're mad because somebody puts the land up for sale. Well, they put it up for sale because we're so many generations removed without an estate plan. Or the vultures come in. I had one of those meetings this week too. They're like, oh, Mary Jo, you talk about the vultures. We've got them. Yeah. The vultures are going to come in. And one of my clients who had an opportunity to buy land at a really good price because they've rented it for 20 years. And now, guess what? Now, mom and dad died and the vultures have appeared and said, well, we want top dollar. And fine. He's like, I understand that. I get it. It's their land. I'll pay whatever the going price is, but I can only pay so much. So I've rented it for 20 years. Why didn't we talk to the owners of that land to say, could we buy it from you? What is your estate plan? And there's a way to do that. You can't just walk into somebody's house and be like, what's your estate plan? I'm renting your ground and I want to buy it. You can't do that. If you have a relationship, you can always mention, if for some reason your kids don't ever want this, and if they would sell, I would love to have first opportunity to buy. And if the owners agree with that, you can write something up that you have first right of refusal, right? And you could even say what the going price would be. And every year you could reevaluate those things. So we have to be proactive to keep this land out of investors' hands. But if we don't pass it down, we can't buy it to farm it. We are equally as responsible as anybody else because we're losing land. We're supposed to, do we really think that investors should say, oh, you know what, I'm not going to buy that because you're farming it. And I respect what you do, so I'm not going to purchase that. No, people aren't going to do that. This is America. They're going to come in and they're going to buy up and they're going to do what they want to do. We cannot sit back and cry about that. We have to sit back and say, how do we fix it? How do we change that from happening? Estate planning and doing it correctly, right? Including some life insurance, talking to an attorney, not saying, we'll just wait for the probate to take care of that. That's not my concern. I'm dead. Ha ha ha. That's not funny. That's not funny at all. You see me laughing? I'm not laughing. So messy. I got off on a bit of a tangent. Surprise! Good morning, Miss Holly. Are you back from Alaska? Okay, and then I have another one that so I might go off on a bank here. 2 tangents in one day. So I had another one that's a poultry farmer. And they have never had an operating loan. Ever. So they had one poultry farm. They sold it. They bought another one. It's profitable. Well, they got a little ahead of themselves. They got a little bit backwards. But now they're all profitable. It's all good. Their daughter wanted to stay home with the kids. So they bought her a poultry farm. They bought another one for her. And she said, and so now what happened is when they bought this second one, the bank rolled them both up into one note and they gave them a line of credit. These guys have never had a line of credit before. They've operated pretty much on cash, right? So now there's a line of credit. So now what happens is we sell eggs And the income from the eggs goes directly to the bank, and then the bank takes all the money and tells them, this is how much you can have per week, and this is how much we're going to put over here. But guess what? We don't know where over here is. We don't know where that money's going. They've done this, they did this like 3 months ago. Okay? And they've already got this huge line of credit. They owe a whole bunch of money on this line of credit. And I said, well, where did that come from? Well, we had to borrow it to make the payment on our other farm before we refied. Okay, understandable. I'm like, but is it getting paid back every week when we sell eggs? What's happening? No idea, because it goes to the bank and the bank controls it, right? The bank pays them. So first time ever she's been paid. But I said, so are they paying you from your line of credit though? Are they getting the check and then they go to the line of credit and they borrow from Peter to pay Paul? What's happening here? Why do we keep having this line of credit? Why isn't it getting paid down? Where's the money going? You better ask for accounting. And she couldn't understand it. She's like, this is confused. I have no idea. I have never had a line of credit before. Is this the way it's supposed to work? No, because their line of credit is due in November of every single year. No, their line of credit should be due in May or June or something like that of every single year. So let's say that it's due in June of every single year. Then why are we borrowing anything from the line of credit if we don't need it? And why is any money going back to the line of credit? Why is it sitting in some checking account when they get paid every week? What's happening? And why are the farm notes, the land notes, why are those getting paid yearly when they could be getting paid weekly with the egg check? So my dairy farmers don't get paid, they don't make land payments yearly, they make them monthly because they get paid monthly. Why is the same thing not happening with them? I don't know what's going on. She didn't know what was going on. But it's very iffy to me. Like, I have a lot of questions. What is the bank doing? Why is the bank doing it that way? We need to pay attention. I see this a lot. Oh, well, the bank just takes my whole check. I sell grain, they just take the whole check. I sell cattle, they take the whole check, and then they disperse it, and I don't have anything. Where are they dispersing it to? What note are they paying off? How much did they pay there? Why did they apply it to there? You understand, in this scenario, you are literally working for the bank. And they are running your operation. We have completely turned over ownership to the operation. So, thank goodness, in this scenario, we are early enough into all of this for her that we can go back to the bank. And I said, I would ask for accounting. I would ask for accounting, and I would want to see exactly what's in these accounts, whose name's on these accounts, and what is going on. Because before we bought the second farm, we never had to have this. So why are we having it now? This also, basically like the physician, right? Because it doesn't matter. Farming is a business. If we don't know our numbers and we're not keeping our books, we don't know where the money's going. And we get so busy working in our business that we don't work on our business. And we need to be working on the business. Okay? We need to know where those numbers are going. I am not trusting the bank. Hey, Caleb. Sales contract may have a broker that has a specific mark. So, David, what I'm talking about is, and Dave, you guys are confusing me because you're both Daves. You can contract grain. Like if you work with a broker, you can contract grain at however many bushels. And so before you even plant, a lot of my bigger farmers or little farmers don't do it, and they should. It's not like they can't, it's just that they should. Your bigger, more successful farmers are contracting grain at X amount of price. If it's a grain you can contract, I'm going to contract it at X amount of price, and then, I know exactly what I'm selling it for before I even put it in the ground. Now, yes, there's some risk. What if you can't fulfill the contract and all that good stuff? I'm not saying it's risk adverse. It's just, can be a little bit better than not knowing what we're going to get and going, oh, should I sell today or should I sell tomorrow? Or, having all these what ifs. At least we know a certain amount of it. We're going to be able to sell it and pay for inputs, if nothing else. Okay, I did have quite a few meetings this week where people did not have their numbers ready. If you are meeting with me, I need to have numbers. Like, we're not just going to chit chat. We're going to get into the nitty gritty of things. And so you get an email that says, hey, this is what I'm going to need for numbers. Pay attention to your emails. If you're not taking the meeting seriously, you're obviously not taking your operation seriously, right? So don't waste your time. Don't waste my time. Have your numbers ready and look at those emails. And when my ladies call you to tell you you got a meeting, pay attention when they talk. Because again, we're not just calling for no apparent reason. So I had a couple meetings this week that were basically worthless because we didn't have any numbers, and numbers were needed. So you will get an email with that information. Well, you're welcome. Detrader. I don't know how to say your name, but thank you, Mr. Roberts. That I can say. Okay, and then I had existing clients again that had questions about their loans. And these are questions that I've gone over and over, but I'm going to touch on them very quickly again. One, if we pay interest back above and beyond what the insurance company is charging us, that interest may or may not fit in the policy. If it does not, because we've paid all our premium, we can't put anything else in, and I've gone over this in a podcast, then we need to put it into a savings account. And then that hopefully will be used to start another policy down the road. In the meantime, we can use it as cash, pay ourselves back plus interest. Just be an honest banker with it, okay? So he had that question, what do I do with this extra interest? And then what was his other question? He had another question about interest. Oh, he said, does a life insurance company send me an interest statement at the end of the year so I can deduct it as a farm expense or as a business expense? Every insurance company is a little bit different, but they do not send you interest statements at the end of the year. They are not in the business of banking. They are in the business of life insurance. Remember Nelson's book? If you really look at the title, Becoming Your Own Banker. He should have capitalized own instead of banker, because this isn't Mary Jo being the banker. This isn't the life insurance company being the banker. This is you are the banker. You have to do the paperwork. This does not come without some sort of extra work, okay? If we're going to be honest bankers, we're going to deduct the interest. We're going to pay the interest. We're going to track interest or pay extra interest. And you're going to deduct that on taxes. That means you need to keep that documentation. So this isn't something that, we just take it lightly and I sell you a policy and we're good to go. No. This is you being the banker. If it doesn't work, it is most likely your fault that it's not going to work. Human error is going to be the biggest risk in the infinite banking concept, because you're not doing it correctly. It is not going to be the life insurance company saying, I'm going to, go out of business or file bankruptcy or whatever. People think that's the biggest risk. No, the biggest risk is you not being a good banker. You not paying premium. You not paying loans back like you should. That is the biggest risk. And I see it all the time. And I try to eliminate that. I try not to work with clients who I know are not going to be good bankers. I try very hard to do that. Because if you're not running your farm and your operation and paying attention to numbers, how are you going to do this? You're going to forget to pay premium. You're not going to pay it all. You're not going to do as planned, right? We need to do that. Okay. Good morning, Tony from Tampa. I also had another client this week that wanted to buy a ranch. And he's already running the ranch, but now he wants to buy it, which means he has to buy cattle, and it is not going to pencil out. So the people that he's running the ranch for can buy the ranch. He can run the cattle. He can take their money, and then he can put it back into his own operation. So we really talked a lot about, do I buy the ranch and take on all this debt and all this risk? Or do we just keep doing what we're doing and we can do it better at a smaller scale? Because right now, they are spread super thin. People, farming and ranching is about profit, okay? It is about making a profit. If you aren't making a profit, what are we doing wrong? Where is the money going? What do we need to change? Profit. It is not about how many cows I have, how many bushels per acre, how many acres am I farming. It's about how much profit do I have. The big guys are not necessarily making a profit. If we can scale slowly instead of jumping into a $3 or $4 million property loan that's not going to pay for itself, we have to think about that. Can we do custom cattle? Can we, because that's what we're doing, right? Can we do custom cattle? Can we work for somebody that's paying us and use their money that they pay us then to leverage our operation? But in order to do that, we're going to have to beat Parkinson's law a little bit. And that Parkinson's law is addressed in here, and Parkinson's law is addressed in here. So if you're new and you don't know what I'm talking about, feel free to grab one of the books. Okay? We have to put, Nelson talks about all of this stuff in the book. I talk about all of these same principles. Not because we think you need to know more principles, but because all of them combined is what is going to get us ahead of our peers. Do we really need the bank's money to always go into debt? If we have a plan that says for 5 more years, I'm going to work for these people, or I'm going to do some custom grazing, and I'm going to have that money come in, and that money that's coming in goes directly into my policy to build my bank, then there's a light at the end of the tunnel that says in 5 years, this is what I'm going to have to start my own operation, right? We need to prepare for that day. And if we're not preparing for it, it comes up to us and the only option we have is the bank. I don't know. Do we want to go there? Maybe not. So it's a plan. And I help you guys with all that stuff. And this particular client, we've talked twice in the last 2 weeks. 2 hours. It's been awesome to help him strategize all these things because he's always thinking, and I love it. And that's what I'm here for. Not just to sell him a policy, not just to sell you a policy, but to make sure that we can strategize and look at all these avenues of what we're doing. Okay, that's it. That's all I have for today. It wasn't like I didn't have a whole bunch to talk about, but you know, I still think we went on some good tangents and talked about some good stuff. So as normal, if you do not have any of the books, go to farmingwithoutthebank.com, grab the books there. Or if you are a non-farmer, you can go to withoutthebank.com and get the books there. Either way, you can go to the store. All of them are there. You can get them in a bundle. That is what I would recommend doing. Again, for those of you that didn't catch me last week, if you've read Nelson's Becoming Your Own Banker, you've read all of mine. Your next assignment is Building Your Warehouse of Wealth, and that you can get on my websites as well. If you have questions, comments, concerns, please let me know. You can send me an email, maryjo@withoutthebank, or you can just message me here. Whatever works for you. Thank you guys for being here today. I love it. Thank you for talking to me and commenting. It's called social media, and I love being social on social media. Okay, let me know if you need anything. I am happy to answer. Otherwise, have a good weekend. Have a great next week, and I'll see you on Friday.